Rural Heritage on RFD-tv is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com.
I guess, well, my wife was killed in an accident, and kind of sat around here for a while, and I'd always wanted a team of mules. I'd wanted that for years and just never thought I had the time. And then when she was gone, I had some issues trying to keep myself busy, and I decided I was going to buy me a team of mules. And I knew this Amish fella at Jamesport, and he dealt in some teams, and I had talked to him, and yeah, he said, well, you really ought to start with just an old broke team. So he found me a team, and they were broke. I drove them a good bit, had them in some parades and around. And he had told me, he said, you drive these few years, and you'll probably want something with a little more go to them, a little more work in them. And I kept them, 4 years, and they were slowing down. One of them had a little arthritis in her front leg, and so I had a chance to sell them, and he found me this team then, and I've just been very satisfied with them. They got a lot of go, they like to work, and good to be around.
Why did you always want to have a team of mules?
I had a mule I bought in the early 70s, a riding mule. I bought him for coon hunting. So any mule can jump. It's just letting them know they can. Well, I taught him to jump and had a lot of fun with him, rode him, and I coon hunted quite a lot. And I had him for a good many years there coon hunting, and I sold him, and then I started with a year-old quarter bred mule, and I broke her, and then you just can't hardly have just one mule. So then I bought another mule, and he just turned out to be just a really nice mule. And he actually, I sold him in a private sale, and he went to the state of Washington. This other mule that I bought as a yearling, I just sold her about 2 months ago to a fella in the state of Utah. Huh. So I have mules way out west, and then my old team went up in Iowa. Okay. And I saw that fella a year later, and he was just tickled to death with him.
Teaching someone else how to drive.
Yeah, he was looking for a team that was slow, and he was telling me about he had them in a parade somewhere, and they did a flyover with some planes, and he said the horses just went nuts. He said my team just stood there and just like, they didn't even act like they knew anything happened. So yeah, he was very happy with them. But they were good mules. They were good to be around. They were just like this team. They were good to be around. No bite, no kick or anything to them. But I've enjoyed my mules, and I hope to keep them for a long time yet. They seem to really enjoy work. They like to move out whatever they're doing, but yet I've had them in parades, and they're quite easy to control out in public. I've farmed my whole life. I quit the row crop farming 3 years ago. I still run a herd of cows, cow-calf operation. And I like that. So, and I've always had a lot of round bales, and so I guess I built that wagon 5 years ago, I guess. And I didn't put that cab on it right away, but it'd get up in the fall late, and I thought it got too cold to ride that wagon. So I built that cab on it, put a heater in it, and I get along very well.
So before the mules, you were feeding with a tractor?
Yes, tractor or truck,
About how many calves do you have a year?
About 100.
No kidding.
Yes.
That keeps you pretty busy.
Yeah, it does. I have, oh Molly, oh yeah, switched to all fall calving, so the weather is a lot more pleasant.
Yep, right.
And I did, yeah, when I switched to fall calving, most of my cows had a fair amount of age, so I sold all my cows and bought back heifers. So I just have a small group of cows that have calved this past fall, but I'll have a bigger bunch late in the summer, early fall calving. Oh. Oh. Well, this is a track off of an old barn door, and this is the trolley. So when I'm gonna drive, after I get them hooked up, I hook this spring up. So any way that they take the tongue, they get some lift with the tongue.
Where'd you get the idea for that?
I saw it on a wagon.
The same design with the track and all like
Yes, yes. And before I owned these mules, the left one had some issues with her top of her neck. And I noticed driving her that she would always turn her head so far when she was working. And then I asked some people that, you know, were real experienced in driving, and I told them about what she had. They call it fistula. And said, I bet her neck is hurting. And when I put the spring on it, it just almost stopped all of that. She doesn't turn her neck anymore. So I run big heavy pads on their necks.
Yeah. Boy, this is nice. This is deluxe.
This is something else that I I just put this on lately. I'd seen this on a wagon. It's a line brake. When you're driving and you stop, I still got a little adjusting to do on it, but that's on an eccentric.
Okay.
And then, you know, so the harder the mules pull, tighter that gets.
Yep.
And then when you want to take off,
Just pull on it. Yep.
just pull them out from under there.
That's pretty sweet.
And I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be, you know, just make things a lot handier. Get up, girls. Gee, Molly. Gee.
You had a lot to learn.
I did.
You never did this before. You started doing it.
Not at all.
You learned from a lot of different sources.
I did. Yeah, there was a fellow over here that had mules for a lot of years, a team, and he actually came over and helped me harness them the first time or two, and was a big help to me.
This is hay you put up?
It is, yes. Whoa. So when I made this, I wanted it all where I could do it all from right here in the seat, and back. Whoa. G, Molly. G. G. Whoa. Back. Back. Whoa. Oh. Oh. Whoa. Back. Back. Whoa. Back. Back. Back.
Pretty slick.
Get up, girls. Whoa.
Pretty nice.
Whoa. Whoa. Yep.
Have any runaways yet?
Very few. I was plowing with them one time, and the plow wasn't scouring real well, and I got off to just clean the moldboard off, and that was probably my fault more than theirs, shaking the plow. They walked off, and they made me walk home, and I hadn't had them very long, and they just went over the hill and left me. I thought, wonder where they'll be. Well, they were standing right in front of the barn when I walked up there, and they turned around and looked like, kind of like, where you been? And I thought, well, if there's any foolishness, we got to find it out. So I hooked up to this hay wagon then, because they'd kind of made a mess of my plow.
Sure.
And we hauled a couple of bales of hay, and no, they just did it because it happened. It wasn't any. I wouldn't even really call it a runaway.
Sure.
I mean,
they walked off. Is what
they
it
did.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They that plow was shaking, and
and they weren't silly at all when you hooked them up to the wagon.
Not at all.
But you felt it was important to hook them up to something else and get driving them.
I thought if there is a problem, we need to just take care of it, and there wasn't. Email it. Whoa. Oh, girls. Step up, Dolly. Step up. Oh. Gee, Molly. Easy.
Hey, I'm Stacy Lynn. Today we're going to be making almond brittle.
Stacy Lynn, savor the good life.
Cooks have been making brittle since the 1800s. Rumor has it, a Southern lady mistakenly made brittle by putting baking soda instead of cream of tartar into her mixture. The baking soda made it all brittle, it makes it porous and dry, and therefore we have a new dish called brittle. Be prepared, everything brittle is fast. Measure ingredients and have your tools right at hand. To make brittle, you will need sugar, syrup, I use cane syrup, I use Alaga, I think they have the best tasting cane syrup. Some coffee grains. You don't have to use coffee grains if you don't want to. I like it in mine. It makes it a little bit more rich. And hot water. So I'm going to pour that into a little bit of butter that I have in here. And that was 1.5 cups of sugar and a couple of tablespoons, about 3 tablespoons of butter. And then 1/2 cup of this awesome syrup. Look at that. Yummy. And then my hot water. Don't forget the coffee grains. Okay. Give that a stir. Once you stir it, you're not going to want to touch it anymore after that. So you're going to get this all really good and incorporated, and then you're going to leave it alone while it sits over medium-high heat. There you go. Nice and stirred. So I'm not going to touch this mixture. I'm going to wait until it gets to the hard candy stage, which is 310 degrees here. It's between 300 and 310. So it depends where you live. I'm going to use my thermometer here, and it's best to have a candy thermometer. This one works just fine. Just be sure not to touch the bottom of the pan or you'll get that temperature as opposed to what's in here. You can start seeing how it dissolves and watch it. You don't have to have a thermometer, and I'm going to tell you a secret here. Once it gets amber around the edges and it starts bubbling really nicely around the edges, then you are just going to move it around, swirl it around, and keep it going, mixing all of that heat into the rest of the mixture. Once you do that, you can see that that it's about done. It'll get a deep amber color. Here's a tidbit. In the Middle East, they make brittle with pistachios. And in Asia, sesame seeds are used. Okay, it's 3:06. Take it off the heat and put in 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And then stir it like you mean it. Really get that good and stirred, okay? Now, I'm gonna add my almonds. I'm gonna stir that up. And then I'm going to pour it now onto the sheet. All right, I'll put a little butter on the back of my spoon and kind of spread that out. And finish it off with a little salt. Let it cool completely, and then I'll break it apart. Always make sure to store your brittle in airtight containers or plastic bags. If you do that, then it'll stay fresh. Don't store it in the refrigerator. No fail brittle.
Stacy Lynn.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027. or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.